Hey, welcome. So, we're all surrounded by technology, right? Some of it feels like straight up magic. It just works, you don't even have to think about it. But then there's the other kind, the kind that makes you want to just, throw it out the window. Today, we're going to dive into the secret science of turning that frustration into flow and figure out what makes technology that people actually love to use.
We've all been there. You're just staring at a screen, clicking everywhere, and feeling totally, completely stuck. You're trying to do something simple, but the app or the gadget seems like it's actively fighting you. So what's the deal? Why is it that some of the most advanced tech on the planet can feel so unbelievably dumb? Okay, just look at this PowerPoint remote. This thing is a perfect example of the problem. It has two main buttons, but check out the design. A short press moves you forward, but a long press sends you backward. Now imagine you're in the middle of a big presentation, your heart's pounding. How easy would it be to mess that up? That's not on you. That's a design that's basically setting you up to fail. And look, the consequences of bad design go way beyond just a moment of annoyance. This stuff has real costs. For us, it's anger, frustration, and just wasted time. But for businesses, it means productivity goes down, mistakes go up, and you even start losing customers who just get fed up and decide to go somewhere else. Seriously, poor usability is expensive.
So, we've got the problem down pat. Let's call this section Technology's Annoying Side. It's that feeling of battling the very tools that are supposed to be helping us out.
But here is the single most important thing I want you to take away from this. That frustration you feel, it's not your fault, it's theirs. When you're struggling with a piece of tech, it is almost always a failure of the design, not a failure on your part. And the good news is, there's an entire field of science dedicated to fixing this exact problem. And that field is called human-computer interaction, or HCI for short. The best way to think about it is as a bridge between people and machines. Its whole goal is to design tech that's effective, efficient, and honestly just satisfying to use. And it does that by focusing on the most important, and let's face it, the most complicated part of any system. Us, the humans. So HCI looks at both sides of the coin. On one side, you've got the human, with all our quirks, our limited memory, our short attention spans, the whole shebang. And on the other side, you've got the computer, with its processing speed, its interfaces, and all its different gadgets. HCI is literally the science of making those two very different worlds work together in perfect harmony. All right, so if the big goal here is to bridge that gap between humans and computers, where do you even start? Well, you start by designing for us, and more specifically by understanding how our brains actually work. Here is a fundamental truth that designers just have to get. Our brains are not hard drives. We don't just store information perfectly. Our memory has a very specific structure with very real limits, and great designers have to build their products knowing exactly how that structure works. Think of your memory as basically three different filing cabinets. You've got sensory memory, which is just a super brief flash. Then there's long-term memory, which is like this huge, vast archive. But the one that is absolutely critical for design is that one in the middle, short-term memory. It's like a temporary scratch pad that can only hold a few items at a time. If an interface makes you remember too much, it completely overloads that little scratch pad. And that's exactly when you get confused and start making mistakes. So how do designers solve for this? Well, it starts with simple, powerful principles like this one, from the design legend Don Norman. The idea is brilliant in its simplicity. Don't make the user remember stuff. Instead, make all the options and actions totally visible. I mean, if you can see what you can do, you don't have to rely on your flaky short-term memory, right? Now, this isn't just guesswork. There's a whole rigorous process called user-centered design. It's basically a loop. Designers start by really understanding the people who are going to use the product and what they need to get done. Then they design solutions based on those needs. And then, and this is the crucial part, they test those designs with real people over and over and over again. A huge piece of that process is prototyping. So before anyone writes a single line of code, designers build mock-ups. And these can be super simple, like just sketches on paper, or they can be really complex interactive models. The whole goal is to get ideas in front of actual users early and often. It lets them find out what works and fix what doesn't before it's way too late and way too expensive to change. Okay, so what happens when designers actually focus on how our brains work and follow this user-centered process? Well, the result is that they can transform an experience from something clunky and confusing to something totally seamless and intuitive. Let's take a look at what that really looks like. This says it all, doesn't it? Remember that confusing slide remote from earlier? Now, compare that to a music player that you can control with simple hand gestures. It is the difference between a technology that makes you stop and think and a technology that feels like a natural extension of yourself. That is the power of good HCI.
And you can actually spot these principles in the products you use every single day. Visibility means the important controls are just obvious. Feedback means that when you click a button, something actually happens to show you that it worked. Constraints prevent you from making mistakes by, say, graying out an option that isn't available. And affordance, that just means making something look like what it does. A doorknob with a handle just screams, "Turn me," while a flat plate on a door invites you to push. That's good affordance. So these principles have really shaped the tech that we all use today. But where is all of this heading? Let's take a quick look at the future of interaction and see what might be coming next. One thing is for sure, HCI never ever stands still. The keyboard and mouse were absolutely revolutionary, but they're really just one chapter in a much, much longer story. The goal is always to make that interaction between us and our computers more direct, more natural, and more seamless. The future is all about moving beyond physical devices. We're already seeing it with voice assistants and gesture controls, right? The next frontier is technology that can understand us even more intuitively, bridging that gap until the computer feels less like a tool we have to operate and more like a partner we can actually collaborate with. So why does all of this matter? Well, because good design makes technology accessible to everyone, no matter their age or ability. It prevents catastrophic errors in really high-stakes fields like medicine and aviation. And, on a personal level, it saves us from that daily frustration and can turn our technology from a source of stress into a source of flow and maybe even a little bit of joy. So I'll just leave you with this question to think about. In our world that's getting more and more complex, filled with smart devices and connected systems, just think about your own life. What's the one thing, that one app, that website, that device that you truly, truly wish was designed with you in mind? Thanks for watching.